It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Here we are again, Monday afternoon in Central Texas, Waco, Texas, to be specific. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, presented to you by Slovacics. Truth serum on hand right now. I had to drive by Slovacics on Saturday because I was in a rush to get up north, and I had to drive by yesterday because I was in a rush to get back to call a volleyball game. So no Slovacics for me this weekend, and I feel the emptiness. I feel like I missed something. And I did, and I can't wait to get back there on Friday when I drive up to Dallas. Crawford Austin, a presenting sponsor as well. I just got to talk to Gordon Harriman, so I'm covered there. I'm all stocked up. Gordon did tell me a story that when he gives his commercial real estate like rates to other people, and if somebody's giving him a hard time, like, I don't know, somebody who owns a big business, Gordon will tell him this, like, shop me around, man. Hey, shop me around. And Gordon says, hey, I told him to shop around because we got the best rates there are. Because we're a fourth generation business, we can do that. All right, we are a first generation TV show, or we're not a TV show, but we're not a podcast either. We're not streaming. We are streaming. Who knows, baby? We're here to entertain you. And I can tell you a little bit. I was entertained this weekend by a lot of college football and also, of course, by the NFL yesterday. I heard a guy say that yesterday afternoon that the NFL is a spiritual experience and he likes to practice it every Sunday. I like to think I share the same passion and sentiments. I heard that at a 12-step meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, a window into my life. I've been sober for about 12 years, 13 in November, God willing, as we say. And I say, I don't say this, somebody else I know said this, but if I don't go to a meeting, like an AA meeting, in a couple days, like I start to feel it. If it's like more than a couple of days, like 7, 8 days, then everybody starts to feel it. And I noticed that I was being kind of prickly yesterday afternoon. And so I was like, I need to get to a meeting. I actually have been really busy. I game Friday, game Sunday. So I go to this meeting, and the theme of the meeting, okay, and I think this applies to all of us, right? Accepting hardship is the pathway to peace. This isn't life, right? Because that's what we talk about in a lot of these meetings. It's like, okay, like now that we're not drinking, like what else? Because I got me to live with and I'm a maniac. So part of not being a maniac is accepting whatever the circumstances are around me, right? Accept what I can't change and have the courage to change what I can. A little serenity prayer for you. So the Dallas Cowboys yesterday incurred some serious hardship. And there's some stuff about the Cowboys game that frightened me as somebody who living in Texas, and I have no issue, by the way, talking about the Cowboys. I'm from Philadelphia, grew up an Eagles fan. I could talk about the Cowboys all day because, look, I was also raised on that NFL Films America's Team. And there was always something sexy about the Cowboys, even though there was a point in my life where I absolutely hated the Cowboys. My friend Matthew Rosado loved the Cowboys. I just told you I went to AA. There was a point in my life where I drank a lot. It was a freezing cold night over the winter. I was home for Christmas break from the University of Richmond. Eagles and Cowboys were playing the next day. Matt Rosado, who I mentioned was a Cowboys fan, left his Cowboys hat outside on the deck. I put the hat on the ground and I urinated all over it. A day later, Matt wore that same hat to the Cowboys game, unbeknownst to him that I had urinated on it. That's how much I hated the Cowboys. And I loved Matt Rosado. Now, that's a different approach, right? I'm in a different medium. I don't drink. I don't urinate on hats. And I don't have a problem talking about the Cowboys. Because I still see them. People freak out as America's team. Look, man, Cowboys were on the big show yesterday, kicked off at noon, which was kind of annoying because like I mentioned, there was a volleyball game, a Big 12 volleyball game I did that started at 1, but apparently I didn't miss too much. And what I did see didn't look very good. The Cowboys were obliterated yesterday, and they were undressed by an offense that seems to be like a hot knife through butter. If you can believe it, that showing from Mike Zimmer's defense yesterday was actually worse than the last showing for the Cowboys defense when they were obliterated by the Packers at home in that divisional round playoff game. We thought we had that out of our minds. No, we don't right now. The Cowboys, and this is a stat that shows your defense is so porous. The Cowboys allowed a touchdown on each of the Saints' first 6 possessions. Like, you're telling me this is a team that's going to go to the Super Bowl? That's unacceptable. I mean, that's like, it's hard to wrap your mind around. It's literally mind-numbing. The entire defense just completely pushed around, shoved around by the Saints. Apparently, ways to attack Mike Zimmer's scheme, and apparently ways to attack the Cowboys last year with Dan Quinn was to do a lot of motion before the play, get the Cowboys alignment at least thinking. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the X's, the coach's room drawing up the X and O's. I know this. They ran motion 70% of the time, and they averaged 9.5 yards every time they used motion pre-snap. Another big takeaway, I want to hear from Mike McCarthy in a second here, but one big takeaway, Clint Kubiak, who is the offensive coordinator for the Saints, who is setting the world on fire. He's from that Sean McVay tree, that Shanahan tree. This offense that has been used so often to exploit the Cowboys' weaknesses did it again yesterday. This was Mike Zimmer's old offensive coordinator, this Clint Kubiak, who took his old boss to the cleaners. So there's a lot to be worried about if you're a Cowboys fan. But there was a little bit from, a 30,000 feet perspective. I didn't love how some of the Cowboys, whether it was coaches or players, didn't seem concerned. Let's start with Mike McCarthy.
You need adversity games like this. You definitely don't want to ever perform like this. They played well. Give them credit. But yeah, I think like all of us, we're disappointed with our performance today. But the true reality is we'll take the film tomorrow. That'll tell the complete story. And there's no burn the tape. I'll sit here, so we don't. That's not the way I've ever operated. So we will take a hard look at it because we all need to learn from it. We got a new defensive staff, and this is the first time. We were on cloud 9 last week, and now we got punched, and no differently offensively. We did not handle the adversity part of it to keep pace with the way the game was going. So, and more importantly, our young players they need to learn from this experience. So that's where we are. We're 1-1.
All right, so we hear Mike McCarthy there. I think we can all agree that the NFL is not Alcoholics Anonymous or any recovery room. There is no accepting hardship, right? They suffer hardship. Things have got to change. You can't accept the fact that the Saints scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions. There's a lot here not to like. I didn't love how Mike McCarthy afterwards, as it was relayed to the general public, the message in the locker room was pretty much like, hey, we can't go 17-0 now. Like, no shit, dude. Like, you got bigger fish to fry. Like, there's a lot to worry about. I know he's errs on the side of being a player's coach, and I know that, hey, he did say we're going to look at the film. We're going to get things corrected. He sort of threw his defensive staff under the bus saying, hey, we've got a new defensive staff. Dude, the offense was pretty shitty as well. Part of that offense and the Cowboys' offensive struggles was Dak Prescott. Now, we can talk about Dak Prescott and his contract forever, but that's old news. Actually, I will bring it up a little bit here. But let's hear from Dak Prescott after the game. Early in the game, he had CeeDee Lamb. There was a touchdown that literally slipped through the fingers of the Cowboys. And let's hear what Dak had to say about it.
Went for the CD early in the first half. It looked like he was open in his zone. I don't know if was that a misconnection? Or
just miscommunication. A play that just completely just miscommunication. Nothing more than that. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it cleaned up and make that.
Man, I don't know. In a sense where, like, miscommunication. That's the difference between winning a Super Bowl and being a team that goes 12-5. Truly, on my heart, that is what I believe. And I like a little bit of laissez-faire from Dak too. We'll get it corrected. It's well, dude, it should be corrected. That. You have to hold these guys to a real high standard. And if that happens again and then again, then you've got a real problem on your hands. So in this small little vacuum that we have so far, to look at the Cowboys this season, okay, they played a shit Cleveland team and they did what they were supposed to do. They played at home against a Saints team who are, I guess they're good. And I guess their offense is really good. But we'll find out more. But you just can't make those mistakes. If you're the guy getting paid more than anybody else in the NFL, that mistake can't happen. And what makes me think that it will happen again is the fact that they've only played 2 games and it happens so far. You'd hope that gets fixed, and you don't want to be uber critical of Dak Prescott, but let's face it, that's a bigger deal, I think, than was led on. We talked about the Saints. It's worth talking about them a little bit. So Josh McDaniels was Derek Carr's coach in Oakland, wherever they were. Yeah, Oakland, Vegas. And then prior to that, it was John Gruden. Those are 2 guys who, if you look on paper at quarterback play, now McDaniels, anybody outside of Tom Brady, and then John Gruden, a handful of guys had a lot of success under him. But when you're thinking about the totality of their work, not a ton of quarterbacks flourished under those 2 guys. Pete Carmichael is now the Saints offensive coordinator, and he's got Derek Carr looking like Sammy Baugh. And that's something where NFL fans take note. This offense is doing very well up and down the field. Again, last week they tore it up against the Carolina Panthers, who are probably the worst team in the NFL, or at least one of. But it's a concern. So defensively, we'll go back to that, though, where we started. Mike Zimmer and his defense completely blown away by the offense I was just talking about, the Saints offense and Derek Carr. Alvin Kamara, 4 touchdowns. That's unacceptable. There were many deep deep passes, one huge 60-yard completion. This is a Cowboys team that, at least under Dan Quinn, did not allow long completions like that. So now you're getting beat up, both sides. The run defense is something that I think is a real issue. Let's hear a little bit right now from Micah Parsons, who by the way, is becoming more and more one of my favorite guys on and off the field. I appreciate how forthright he is talking to the media. He doesn't roll people under the bus, but he certainly is ready to hold them accountable.
It's so early in the year. We can get so much better. Like I said, I don't think a lot of guys play with 100%. And we didn't do our job to the best of our standard, and the standard wasn't held today.
You talk about missed tackles. When you focus specifically on the run defense, what is the concern level there at this point?
Like I said, everyone's going to say they did their job and everything was perfect right now, but film tells all. I can't wait to see the film. Like I said, I don't know who was out of what gap, but I know, for the guys, when I turn the film on, I want to say 11 was giving us all. That's all that matters. And then we're going to continue that standard. I got a job. I owe these guys, I owe my family to a certain level of ball. And, I don't think I helped, do the best of my abilities today.
He also talked about that he was looking forward to watching the film, to seeing how hard guys were playing when they were down 21-3. Look, there were several times in that short clip that Micah Parsons alluded to the fact that his teammates were not giving 100%. That goes back to what could be a huge issue for the Cowboys, is that Dak is like, miscommunication happens. Mike Zimmer, well, we can't go undefeated. We're 1-1. It's like, dude, this could be a much bigger problem. And it's something to keep an eye on as far as the Cowboys and maybe feeling themselves after week 1, maybe feeling themselves going forward, and maybe thinking they're a little better than they are. This is a team that should be so hungry. Nobody should be taking any plays off. All you want to do is win a Super Bowl, and you have melted under the hot glare of the playoffs for the past 3 years. The time is now, and no one No one can take plays off or not play 100%. It's the NFL. Like, you're not playing 100%. Some of these guys aren't certainly not playing 100% of the game. And this is not me saying, oh, these guys aren't playing hard. This is Micah Parsons. Like, that is a real problem, and it's a fundamental problem that unfortunately could start at the top for the Cowboys. Schematically, this is what I heard from Micah Parsons that worries me if I'm a Cowboy fan. Go ahead, Zach.
It's the most obvious thing that jumps in.
To me, it had nothing to do with the scheme. I thought it was him called a pretty good game. Now there was a man play we happened in the screen, but at the end of the day, that's life. You know what I'm saying? You always want no play's going to be a perfect call. But at the end of the day, I believe that we just got outplayed. I don't think whoever played on that field, everyone didn't play to 100%. That's just me being accountable and saying the truth. Everyone, we all got to play better. There's some plays I wish I had back. Just schematically things that I wish I was in a different position. But, you know what I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, I believe I still go out there and give 100. I just feel like, there's a lot of BS in today.
Did they?
Well, they did a great job schematically, right? Everything was short, everything was quick, and if it wasn't, it was maxed up two-man routes, you know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, I also thought it was different, which was a creative way, was instead of, having a lineman block me and max of protection with the chip, they kind of just sent the chipper lineman, then sent the running back to cut. So, I was going through a maze almost. So, I thought that was creative, a new way, things that I didn't see. So now this is an opportunity for me to see a creative look that I haven't seen before and get better from it.
All right, Micah Parsons, again, talking about the possibility that people weren't playing 100%, which continues to scare the shit out of me if I'm a Cowboys fan. He also talked about the scheme and the way that the Saints protected their quarterback, Derek Carr. And it was not like anything magnificent. I mean, it was different, but like if Riker Catholic plays a team that has a couple of good rush ends, they're going to try to be quick and they're going to max protect. That's like nothing that's like so novel that the Cowboys shouldn't be able to make a change or figure it out in game. And I can tell you what, if they don't figure out how to change it up, every other team they play is going to employ the same exact approach, because the Cowboys defense that got 25 pressures last week against the Browns got next to none against this Saints team. So there's issues rushing the passer now, and we thought this was going to be the sack-happy team last week. By the way, how quickly, myself included, right? But how quickly things change in a week. Like, we're for damn sure not sitting here talking about Tom Brady or going to the Super Bowl. We're talking about the Cowboys and how bad they sucked. So obviously a long season, but look, man, watching the game yesterday, the parts I did see, and then reading about it as much as I did and hearing reliable sources like the Cowboys themselves and Micah Parsons, this is a situation that has got to be fixed if you want to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And you get the feeling around the Cowboys that anything else will be a real disappointment. One more thing before we bring in our Rogue Media teammate, Matt Mosley, who's going to talk a little bit about the game with us and about the Cowboys going into the future. He released the Doomsday podcast last night, right after the game, which I listened to, which is kick ass. The Doomsday podcast on the Rogue Media Network, Mosley and Ed Werder. It seems like Werder actually likes Mosley, which is surprising, but it also is fun to listen to. Colorado football. Baylor takes on Colorado this Saturday in a huge matchup, 8 o'clock on Fox. Both teams at 2-1. Colorado opened up a game of whoop ass against Colorado State, and it was really no contest, and it was never really close. Last year, the game went into overtime. Super exciting. That one was at Boulder. This one, not so close. After the game, now during the lead up to the game, a couple of the players on Colorado State had some choice words for the Buffaloes, and it was fun. Fowler Nicolosi, Colorado State's quarterback, talked about the fact that at the end of the day, this is leading up to the game. At the end of the day, you have to line up 11 guys against our 11 guys, and we'll find out who wants it more. We'll see how far their Instagram followers get them. Okay. He also talked about how last year Colorado rode into that game at home, a 26-point favorite against Colorado State, and they took them lightly, and Colorado State almost surprised them at home. So game's over. Colorado wins going away. If you haven't seen it yet, which you probably had, I want you to take a look at the interaction between Fowler Nicolosi, the quarterback. That's his last name, by the way. I forget his first name. It's a hyphen in between. And Shedeur Sanders. Check out the interaction.
You that same talking shit on Instagram. You talking on Instagram. All right, keep talking about business. You can't fuck with me.
If you are a college football fan and you have a problem with this, you've got a problem that I cannot solve. In an era where we've got professional athletes taking pictures with jerseys after every game, it's very clear everybody in the NBA, they're from the same club, and that's cool, but there's so much love around sports, which I want love out there when I leave this building. Don't get me wrong. I want to walk down the street. I want to project love. I want to receive love. On the football field is where I don't want to see any love, for the most part, as a fan. I love the idea that Shedeur Sanders would not shake his hand. I love the idea that the rivalry grows. Now, if I'm Shedeur Sanders' agent, if I'm an NFL front office guy, this is a guy who might be, or if not is, the best quarterback in the nation. Do I want to see that from a guy who I'm going to consider a leader? I don't know. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the competition. We're talking about the battle. We're talking about football. I absolutely love it. I grew up with that. I grew up with the Miami Hurricanes, literally showing up to a dinner against Penn State or the night before their game with Penn State in fatigues, and then they got up and left the dinner. It's exciting and I love it. Going all the way back, what was it? Notre Dame and Michigan, Notre Dame and Notre Dame, Miami again, getting into a fist fight outside of the tunnel right before the game. So I appreciate that. Let's put it that way. I also appreciate Matt Mosley. We're coming back talking Cowboys. The Pete Sousa Show continues, powered by the Rogue Media Network.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
We are back on the Pete Sousa Show, and we are joined by my Rogue Media teammate. You can hear him right now with me, but you can also hear him later on this afternoon on ESPN Central Texas, 1660. He is the king of the Cowboys coverage. He is Matt Mosley. What's happening, Mose?
Pete, just tough day in the land of the cowboy. I've arrived in the Metroplex just to kind of see how everybody's functioning, and it's not good. Even on a gorgeous day, weather 77 degrees, Cowboys fans disgusted after what they saw on yesterday afternoon, and it's I think still in a state of shock. And now the Baltimore Ravens, a team that is reeling, headed to town, so it doesn't get any easier for sure.
I listened to the Doomsday podcast last night. I texted you this morning. It's exceptional work. And honestly, as a Cowboys fan, I'm sure I'm not one, but as somebody who follows the Cowboys, I would imagine that was the only reprieve, because you guys do a good job of keeping it light and having it fun, but at the same time, keeping us informed. One of my biggest takeaways from that ass whipping was the fact that I almost felt like the Cowboys played it down. I mean, we just played some of Dak's sound yesterday. We listened to Mike McCarthy. I felt like the only Cowboy who really felt this was jarring was Micah Parsons. What are your thoughts on that? Just how they responded to a 44-19 loss.
Well, I was there for Jerry, and I will at least say it was kind of interesting. Somebody said, well, you don't seem concerned with this. And Jerry kind of shot back and said, I'm very concerned. I didn't say I wasn't concerned. And so I actually thought Jerry, of everybody, and Micah did show a little concern, but yeah, to your point, McCarthy sort of went with the whole, we probably weren't going to go. We knew we weren't going to go undefeated this season. Kind of like this kind of stuff happens. And I thought Dak Prescott echoed him in some of that. And, you really have to kind of wear it when you go out and get annihilated like that. And one of the things this Cowboys team has done, and I know you can't help but think back to them getting crushed by Green Bay. But before that, last season, they were undefeated at home, and over the last couple of seasons have been really good at home. And so to have somebody come into your stadium and just wax you, I don't know that was the proper response from McCarthy. Now, maybe it settles his team down and they can show up and they can play well next weekend. But man, how can you not, if you're a team playing the Cowboys, not just look at that as the blueprint? Run it like crazy. Run it at Micah Parsons. I just thought they did an incredible job of neutralizing what he does best which is just speed, the power, the pass rushing moves that he has. You could barely even know that he was on the field. In fact, Pete, I was shocked to find out that they sacked, I guess it was a 1-yard loss. I think they technically had a sack against Derek Carr. That was the most shocking news I received last night, was that they got anywhere close to him. So tremendous job by the Saints. And I think what we try to figure out early in the season, and you're doing this with the Eagles, Pete, as a lifelong fan of that team, you're kind of like, well, wait, what do we know? Like, could the Saints be really good? Are they one? Because right now, after 2 games, they look like one of the best teams in the NFC. And again, it's too early to make those proclamations, but that's all we have to work with right now. So I would say that it's not like it's too early to get really upset about a loss, but the way it happened, the thorough annihilation that they took to the Cowboys. That was 6 straight drives with touchdowns. It's been a while. That Green Bay game was sort of like that, but to see the Cowboys and then to hear the Who Dat chants ringing out throughout AT&T Stadium. It was an embarrassing day for the home team.
All right. So Mike Zimmer's defense, were they just totally out-schemed? This is a guy, Clint Kubiak, who used to work for him, and it certainly seemed like he had the book on his old coach. That's got to be concerning. Yeah,
I think he'll have a response, but they did get thoroughly out schemed. I'll be really interested to hear what Zimmer has to say. Coordinators generally talk, I believe, on Thursday, so it may be a little bit before we get to hear. But, you always get a little bit of an interesting explanation once they've seen the film and all of that. But they took the top off that defense. I mean, Pete, you're in a cover two, and you let the Rashid Shaheed. I mean, first of all, it's like, where in the world? I mean, this guy went to Weber State. Wow. Undrafted. I mean, he's a monster, just a speed demon. And he split those two safeties back there, and they just didn't have any answers. So the answer to your question is yes. Clint Kubiak came in and out-schemed the Cowboys in every possible way. I thought they blocked great. They were great on the perimeter. That zone read, those runs to Kamara, they were unbelievable. I've seen them play Kamara and actually hold up okay against him. And just to see them, and of course they just ran a middle screen one time, and he was never touched.
Yeah.
I mean, like 55-yard touchdown. And so I thought it was a brutal defensive performance. That is as much as I've seen them dominated in the past 5-10 years.
Yeah, and even afterwards, Parsons talked about his inability to get pressure because of the great schemes that the Saints were running. But it's not like they reinvented the wheel. Like a max protect against a team that's going to rush you, and then you have two guys go down the field and you throw the ball quickly to one of them, or let them, like you said, with Shaheed, use their speed to get down the field. Like, that's not rocket science. I was surprised a little bit by the lack of adjustments made by the Cowboys, or maybe the damage was so bad in the first two quarters that there was no coming back from it.
Yeah, it was 35-16 at halftime, and it really didn't feel like they were ever going to come back. I mean, they went down there, I guess, to score to make it 35-19. I mean, they were trying to basically come back on the foot of Brandon Aubrey, and they just didn't. They didn't have enough juice. But the laid back, I don't know. I mean, like, you brought up a good point. Hearing Dak say after the game that he thought he played pretty well, I mean, that stuff doesn't fly. I mean, he just became the highest paid NFL player ever, $60 million a year. And I think if you're standing up there acting like, I'd like a throwback or two, but I thought I played okay, it's like, no, I don't think that's the
Matt, even early in the game when he talked about missing CeeDee Lamb on a possible touchdown, he was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. It's like, dude, you're supposed to have that figured out. You're the guy. It's the second game of the season. It's not like we're sitting here in week 16 and that's the first time that's happened all year.
And he threw that pick to the honey badger.
Who just sat right on it, as you said on the Doomsday Pod. He just sat right there.
Yeah. I mean, the other one, the guy fell down. I think that was Jalen Brooks, and he fell down in the route. So we might give Dak that one. But that other one was bad. And the Badger, I mean, I honestly had already said goodbye to the Badger. I thought I saw that he was retiring. I guess he was saying this is going to be his final year. But the Badger was out there because I thought, golly, 32, is that Honey Badger? And it sure was. I mean, this man has been in our lives for a long time now. I mean, I thought literally, if you get kicked out of LSU for marijuana, I mean, you literally, your career's over in my mind. Like, I mean, that school will do just about anything to keep you in uniform. And yet that guy's gone on to have a great career. So kudos for that man.
I think a lot of people had him DOA getting into the NFL, but he surprised a lot of us. Well, last thing I have for you, because I find this so interesting because of the quality, and I don't want to hear this. Mike Hamilton at Rogue Media is great, but the game ends, and I guess you and Ed how quickly are you able to put Doomsday together? Because for people who don't know, I was driving around the car yesterday. I mean, it was maybe, I don't know, the second game, like the Chiefs and Bengals game had not ended yet. And there it was. Doomsday was up live. I mean, you guys, I was impressed with how quickly you got it done while you're there working at AT&T Stadium.
I mean, that's mostly due to me. No, Ed is so used to having to do all that ESPN stuff, and so we used to have to wait for him a long time. Well, they've moved on from Ed, and now we have more of Ed's time, but he's with WFAA, and he's so used to staying down there. I don't know what he was doing. He was researching or something, and I finally had to call him up here. I said, get on up here. And he gets up there, and we had a good session in a suite high above AT&T Stadium, and then Mike does a great job of kind of turning things around, and we were able to get the Apple and the YouTube and the whole thing. So on those noon starts, you can turn those things around a little quicker, Pete, but the Cowboys rarely have a noon start. And so it was kind of nice to be finished early. You're almost never finished early with the Cowboys. And the Eagles have this to a certain extent. But when you're the Cowboys, you're the late game 90% of the time. Or you're either a night primetime game or you're the 3:30 game. That's it, right? And then apparently you get Tom Brady every week. So, and I heard I was a little tough on Tom last week on your show, Pete, but I heard he had a bounce back effect, and that's good. That's good. I think he was more comfortable, and hopefully he had a good performance. But I think he did have a little bit of a bounce back week on the broadcast. But Fox is basically going to put him on every single Cowboys game. CBS has to be wondering if they're ever going to get the Cowboys game this season. But yes, we're getting a lot of Tom Brady early in the season.
How about last thing now? You've been around this team for a very long time on the beat. How do they respond and take on the Ravens this coming weekend? What do they come out as a team that's inspired? Is it possible that the message hasn't gotten through? I always think history and trends can dictate what's going to happen in the future. On those history and trends, what does the future look like for the Cowboys?
Mike McCarthy and Dak have a pretty good history of responding to losses, and you don't see a lot of bad streaks. And I would say that over the 8 seasons or however long Dak's been doing it now, it's pretty rare for him to go back-to-back losses, and McCarthy's been pretty good at that over the years. So I do think the pride factor is going to kick in. They'll come out with a much better game plan, and I got to tell you that quick passing game destroyed them, as you know, and maybe this is going to be a whole different deal, because Lamar is such a huge threat in the run game, but he's not going to do those same things Carr did. I'm not saying they won't have some RPO and some max protect, but, he's such a huge threat. I almost think the Cowboys might be better equipped to be ready for this thing than they were against the Saints. They better be. And but I like the Cowboys. As bad as they looked yesterday, I think the Cowboys on the bounce back. I like their chances.
All right, nothing for you to bounce back from. Another outstanding performance on Doomsday and all the like, and all your coverage of the Cowboys. You can hear Matt Mosley today on ESPN Central Texas 1660. Matt, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it.
Pete, I appreciate you having me, and tell all the roguesters I said, hey, they've already been putting up with me earlier today on some other stuff. So always good to work with those guys. Have a splendid afternoon.
All right, Matt. Thanks, brother.
You bet.
All right. The Pete Sousa Show rolls on, powered by Rogue Media after this.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete. Sports.
Oh, the Pete Sousa Show. Matt Mosley and that performance, that is top flight.
That's tough, man. That's tough to one up.
Well, you're not going to, so we'll forget about that.
Yeah, well, I will, but I've never backed down from a challenge before.
I suggested
Peter.
the perfect couple for you to watch. You don't like it. You're taking shot. You cannot suspend disbelief and believe that Liev Schreiber is like the coolest, hottest guy in the world. And I don't think you have to suspend disbelief. I just think you've never watched Ray Donovan, which makes it so much more.
You don't have to think that. I have not watched Ray Donovan.
So that
Is it a Prime show? I haven't seen a single Amazon
it's
Prime
Showtime.
show I've liked.
Showtime.
Okay.
It might have been before your
Separately,
time.
I don't like any Prime show. No way, really?
I mean, it was like you were probably getting like drunk and high a lot during this time. It was 2013 to like.
Is it that old? Okay.
Yeah, 2013 to maybe like 2021.
No, but back then,
honestly,
I was
Cam,
getting drunk in high school in 2013. I was. I was also in public high school. We did not have Showtime.
okay, that show, it's Boston centric, it's gritty, it's exciting. It's a guy who
See, this is a
like
red flag
fixer.
though. Is I didn't know until you told me today that it was Boston.
Just I would urge you to watch a trailer at some point. Maybe if I think of it, I'll send you one.
Okay.
Baylor football, Cam. I know you like to talk about everything other than sports when you talk with me because it can be that scintillating, but I want to talk to you about Baylor football, and this is my show. Now,
Yep, I'm at your mercy, Pete.
watching the first half, first of all, I was like, wow, Baylor's not going to cover. I was texting with a buddy of mine earlier in the day. I was like, I don't know. 16 points is a lot. I still haven't seen like enough from the Baylor's offense to think that they're going to win by 3 scores or 2 scores. I wasn't quite there. And at halftime, it was 3-3.
6-3.
6-3.
They kicked right at the buzzer. They kicked one.
So Dave Aranda, you retweeted this, is really screaming at his team prior to taking the field in the second half. You love that.
Yeah. I like, and after the game, my pal Ben Peck asked a question to him of like, hey, what'd you say at halftime? And Dave says, we were just focusing on what was next. We were going to get the ball to start the second half. We were going to score. We were going to get the ball back, and we were going to score again and again and again. And he does it with like this raspy voice. I thought it was Clint Eastwood. You know, like he was like Dirty Harry in that moment is the comp I used on Locked On Baylor. Like he screamed, just lit into them, which we've heard these kinds of stories, but never seen it. And I wasn't looking at it when like up in the press box. I didn't see it till yesterday. But yeah, he just lit into them. I like gritty Dave.
Yes.
Edgy Dave.
I think we have gritty
Raspy
Dave this year.
Yeah, and I think that is out of necessity because he knows this is the year or else.
And so far, by the way, this year, we've got 3 games to work with now, and that defense has been kicking ass. Even Saturday night, when they've gotten into a little bit of trouble, it was bend but don't break. It was the first time I think an opponent hadn't scored a touchdown against Air Force since when? Or Air Force didn't score a touchdown?
By a non-service academy in 21 years.
Wow. First time.
What Eric Kelly had.
So they were held without a touchdown by a non-service academy for the first time in 21 years.
Yeah. And look, I will have to put this out there. Air Force's offense is atrocious. It's terrible. In fact, I went into this game from a defensive standpoint thinking of it the same way as I did Tarleton. I really like how this defense has looked. I really like it. But I will have to put in the caveat of FCS, one half of Cam Rising, essentially FCS. And this is a test this week. Shador and Colorado. Like, Colorado isn't a great team, and they're really, really not a good defense. But Shador is legit. Shador can sling it, and obviously so is Travis Hunter.
I mean, Shador, last year, I was shocked to find out this year in getting ready for the season that he threw like 28 touchdowns and 3 interceptions last year with no offensive line.
Yeah.
So you're showing
He's not
me,
like a free thrower. Like he's
no,
not.
he's a smart
and you
quarterback.
which is you would think he's a like a gunslinger
Yeah.
kind because of because of that offensive line, he can really get out of the pocket and he can chuck it deep. And so you would think, okay, this kid thinks he's going to rely on his arm all the time. And you're right, he really doesn't. He doesn't make bad decisions necessarily, not with his arm anyway.
My concern is that I don't want to say Colorado's back. They never were, but that was an impressive.
They were back
victory.
30 years ago. Yeah,
that was impressive. On the road, just taking care of business against an opponent who was sky high to play them. I'm concerned that they've shown enough now that Baylor could go out there and be really be in trouble. It's a night game. They get down early. I don't know, dude. I mean, literally, they had the yips against Utah at Utah. I'm just saying, like, I'll be really interested to see what kind of resolve Baylor goes out to Boulder with.
I just think this Colorado defense can't hold up. They've got one elite player, but other than that, it is an absolute mess. And I don't think they have a good running game either. It's obviously easier said than done, but you nullify Travis Hunter on one side of the field, whichever end you can, and you've got it's your game to lose. But I was watching that first game Colorado had against North Dakota State, and Shador and Travis Hunter were just running wild. Like they had this great connection, couple of touchdowns, and I had the thought, I think I tweeted it too, it was like, all right, great. Now Shador and Travis Hunter just need to do this 5 more times, and they will be a bowl team.
Yeah.
I don't think much of the team around them. But that said, you look at this game last week. Obviously, Travis is tremendous defensively, and he has another 13 catches offensively. Like, it's easier said than done. I don't know. I mean, I think there will be some Big 12 teams that could stop that. I don't know that Baylor's necessarily it right now, but I think it will be fascinating. See what you can get from the young Caden Jenkins against him. I don't know if there will be many one-on-one man coverages on Travis Hunter, but we will see. I just don't think that defense holds up, Pete. I don't. I think Baylor's got something at quarterback now. I think they figured out something.
They did on Saturday night
Against Colorado State.
That quarterback's pretty good. I mean,
they scored 9 points, which is 9 more than they scored against Texas. So if we're looking at them against, big-time Power 4 opponents, Colorado State had a good little run the last few years in football. They've actually not been bad. But this does not look the same team.
All right.
I'm not saying I'm unimpressed.
No.
Colorado was it 3 field goals? They scored 9 points.
Yeah.
I didn't see the game, but
Jay Norvell is a great story. Just in fact, like, you ever do like a Jay Norvell deep dive? It's awesome. His dad was like a huge Michigan booster, former assistant football coach. His mom was like a supermodel.
No way.
Yeah. It's awesome. He's the man, and he's a bad dude. I like Jay Norvell. All right. So what's that look for?
Sure. You love him.
All right. So we move on now to we're going to stay actually, because I'm curious. I want to dig in with this and get my hands dirty about why you have such disdain for the Colorado football program and Deion Sanders and the way that they're doing things.
Yeah, well, it's not even necessarily a Colorado football program so much as it is Deion Sanders.
What's the issue? I'll say this. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
No, because I know you're like Matt Mosley.
I'm not actually like Matt. I'm of the Northeast
like
volition, so I can be interrupted.
All right, so
just make it good.
I see Deion as he's been this way. Like he's a known entity.
Correct. Yep.
I'm not surprised by any of this, but he does. I don't ever see him as like devious or like. He is very positive, very like he wants to see things celebrated and enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you disagree. Go ahead.
No. I was thinking of a comparison that is actually a really great analogy for it, but I cannot bring this person into it.
Go ahead. No, dude, please.
I can't do that.
Come on, Cam.
It's the one person you can't bring into this. But like if you're thinking about a war that's going on from a lot of other countries, and it's just not your problem. And then all of a sudden, said country or one of their allies invades your country, it then becomes your problem. So yes, Dion has always been like this. He's always been like he's always been prime time, right? And really abrasive in a lot of ways.
No, I can't say it. I got a Big 12 show to host on Wednesday.
You're a smart man, Pete.
Yeah, all right.
But
you're
it's
ridiculous.
No, but it's obviously not the person to person, but the scenario that it's in. Like, they knew there's bad things happening over there. We knew that Dion was this way. We knew he was flashy and abrasive and kind of a jerk. But now it's our problem because now it's in our conference and now we have to deal with it and see this shit all the time.
I love it.
And I know you do because you like Miami and you like the fatigues. And I think there's a great place in college football for trash talk that is gone and rivalries being actually bitter. But to me, it's like he's like the guy who's a dick to the waiter or the waitress. You know, like he's calling out these reporters who have nothing to do with stories that are written about him and saying that they can't write stories about him. And it is just a way to prop up his son. Like, he told the athletic department that the band could not play the fight song after his son scores a touchdown so that they would play his rap
here's
song.
my thing.
I mean, come on, Pete.
But I thought about
That's
this,
insane.
Cam.
That's psychotic.
Okay, first of all,
I don't give a shit about this program or this school. I do give a shit about my son. And in a vacuum, there's no problem with giving a shit about your son, obviously. But come on.
But I think, are we making more of that than it actually was? Did he say, hey, when Shedeur scores, just play his song? It's one player on the team.
Yeah.
He didn't say when everybody scores, play a song. I think it's kind of funny. Like, it's a nuanced thing. I don't think it's that big a deal. Like, let's have some fun. Play a song. And by the way, he didn't say, now I'm being a Dion apologist. He didn't say play his song over the PA. He said have the band play a song, which is kind of cool.
This is college football, Pete. They're supposed to play the fight song.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
I don't think that's as egregious as people try to let on. I don't. I really
could you imagine Tennessee like not playing Rocky Top after a touchdown?
I think what's the most frustrating thing for me being a college football fan is how he has shut down members of the media. And
that's what I mean with the wait staff.
I think that is
because you know these people too.
Yeah,
you know these people the way I know. Like these people, and this is why I went kind of nuclear with it with the local news kid a couple months ago or a month ago or whatever it was. These people, they fucking bust their ass. They are there every day to cover your team. And they're making shit money. A lot of them, they're not getting thanked. You know, they do it because they love it, and they don't want. Most of them do not want to just be negative Nancy. I'm going to put down this coach. Obviously, there's people like that in every market, but for the most part, they are just there because they're doing their job, and it's a lot of work.
The local news one was such a shame because, and it shows the incredible gap and disconnect. This is a kid who does not work for an owned and operated local CBS station.
Nope.
So has zero to do with anything that has come out of CBS National or anyone affiliated with them. It would have been like when I was working in Monroe, Louisiana, if somebody would have stopped me and said, oh my God, I love Gayle King. You work for a CBS affiliate.
Yes.
And like, it's like,
it happened to me when I was working at the local Fox station. People would be like, oh, I don't talk to Fox.
it's like,
congrats. Wow. You're really taking a stand. I'm making $28,000 a year. And you really fucking showed me. I mean, that's what Dion was doing.
So that was a bummer.
But I love you. No, I got nothing but respect for you. I'm going to treat you like less than a human being, but I got nothing but respect for you.
But now we got that out of the way. Okay.
Yeah.
I hate using this term, but hey, man, it's no fun when the rabbit's got the gun, you know? Like, we are seeing a change here. And it's one of those things where it's like, Dion he's empowered. Like, and so I don't agree with treating people some kind of way. I think you treat people with respect. You treat people with your own integrity and assuming that they have it until they show you that they don't. But at the same time, it's like, oh, wow. Like now these guys, dude, Woody Hayes hated the media.
Yeah, he was a dick too.
And
so
he treated them
Belichick,
awful
to the media.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just a different style of treating these guys
Yeah.
poorly. I mean, Bill Belichick.
I've dealt with some
Bill
coaches that treat the
Parcells.
media poorly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that that's like something that is so impossible to stomach. I think it's a new way we're seeing, just to totally cut somebody out is kind of crazy.
And it's just like it does feel like just a circus there, like a sideshow. Like if I was a recruit, like if I had the talent to go and play at Colorado, I'm genuinely thinking like, would that do it for me? Like Dion, Hall of Famer. And there's a lot of fun around this program.
Yeah, by the way, Boulder's pretty cool. People have been kind of crapping on Boulder.
It's great. And you're always going to be on national TV as long as he's there. But it's like, at what point does it feel like this doesn't even feel like a football team?
Well, but
like
again,
they're up 28-9 with a minute left, and they're throwing.
So what?
But like, for what reason, man? For just as bad as it could be running up the score. There's also it's just as bad if Shedeur gets hurt throwing a pass of 28-9 with 50 seconds left. That's a joke. That's a sideshow.
Well, here when we talk about,
and it's not even just the respect thing. It's
when we talk about them being a circus, I thought honestly, like I knew their record, but I didn't know their record. And after they lose that game to Nebraska, and they eke out a win against North Dakota State, which by the way was a good team.
Good
okay,
team. Good FCS team.
And the line was kind of right on it. Colorado eventually did cover, I think, but it was close. I thought that they were like 1-3 or 1-2. Like they're 2-1.
Correct. And
they really handled their business against.
Which, if you combine the 2 years of Dion, they are now bowl eligible. He has 6 wins as the Colorado football coach. That's why I'm like hesitant to say we're witnessing a change in college football. If they start to win, then maybe. But
all right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's steal this from. I haven't checked yet. Guess the lines. Do you know? Do you? I have not seen this line. We're going to steal from Bill Simmons here, which I love to do.
Colorado 2.5.
All right, Colorado 2.5. I say Colorado.
That's because the media loves them.
I say Colorado 5. No. I say Colorado 6. Okay. You ready?
The metrics would not point to it, but I'll bet it's 2.5.
Okay. Ready? Sorry.
And this is Monday, mind you.
It is Monday. Let's check out the odds. Here we go. We are going down. Wow. Whoa. Boy, both the Bears and Buffaloes. Solid week 3. With not much to separate the teams, Baylor opened as a 1.5-point favorite. Am I reading that
Okay,
right?
then they're going with the metrics because, like, metrically, Baylor is a better team right now. I'm not saying they're
How is Baylor a better team than Colorado?
Their defense has been awesome.
Baylor's a 1.5-point favorite. Let me go on Bovada now. I'm freaking out. Zach, we have a second, right?
Like about that, I gotta go on a call and like.
All right, take it easy, Cam. Can we?
I need some other high school football coach to ignore me and not.
Just hang on 1 second, and I'm sorry this is bad. TV, radio, whatever you want to call it. I got to see if this is for real. It is. Wow, 1.5.
Hell yeah, man. Our reputation precedes us. I'm using us there.
What do you think about that? I'm having a problem with that.
I think that's fair. I could argue that Baylor's defense has looked more impressive even than Colorado's offense.
All right, well, I guess that's a wrap for us today. A great show. And Cam, you're a big part of that. As
I want Baylor to beat them so bad.
Zach Burke, Zach on the wheels of steel. I still am looking for more examples of this. All right, 1.5. That is what it is, folks. Mike Hamilton has just entered the room. Oh, by the way, Survivor Series. How did everybody do?
I'm still alive. Gloria Gaynor, baby.
Oh, all right.
Survive.
Zach and Cam. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Slovachiks, of course, Crawford Austin, Daniel Stark, D1, everybody on board. We appreciate it. We'll check you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Rogue Media Sports.